What up, everyone? Shaq here for EDM.com, and you know who this is. He is on the cusp of his long-awaited, some would say overdue, debut studio album, Dreamverse, dropping September 9th. You know, some people tend to shy away from bad dreams, but I'm running directly towards this nightmare. How's it going, my man?
Doing well, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. That was a beautiful intro.
Thank you. You know, it's we all got our shtick. It's no Nardwar, but it's what I got to work with. So
It was,
you
it was
gotta
amazing.
accentuate those strengths, man. How are you? I know this has been a crazy rollout for you. We have the album coming. People might be surprised to learn technically the debut studio album, despite 8 years of just churning out hit after hit. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, man. Why 8 years? Why has it taken so long? What has led you to this stage now after all these big projects you've done and the big collaborators you've worked with? Why is 2022 sort of when we've decided to piece together this sort of like overarching experience that is Dreamverse?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of just felt like the natural progression for me. I think I moved out to LA to be a producer and to make music. And I kind of, went from this 0 to 100 of like bedroom producer to like getting tunes played out and immediately going on tour and just, got really busy really fast. And, I've always had like a little bit of a tendency to just make all different kinds of stuff. I like all different kinds of genres of EDM and different kinds of bass music. And so, I think just, I've taken things year by year and, it always kind of made sense to put out singles or EPs or, whatever made the most sense for me at the time. And I think, once I got those years of touring under my belt and kind of spending a little bit more time like understanding exactly what I felt like the nightmare sound was and things like that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it just felt like a natural time for me to stop. And I was feeling pretty tired and burnt out a little bit from touring and just being on the road all the time in 2019. And so my plan was to take this time off to write an album. And then obviously when COVID happened, it just became this natural break. And I was like, cool, I'm just gonna start cranking away at it. And it was really nice to get back in the studio and write music when I don't have like a list of things that I have to accomplish in the studio. You know what I mean? It's like I was so few days where I could just go in and be like, what do I want to do today? Oh, I'll do this. It was always like, okay, I'm home for 3 days next week. I need to do these
Yeah.
2 days in the studio. I got to get this done, this mix done. It's like, took a little bit of fun out of it for a while.
Well, I think, sometimes being in media, not so much me because I'm a bit of a homebody, but I've got coworkers who are just always following the events, always going on these tours, don't have much that they do outside of their work week. And I think sometimes some fans don't really, they just think it's fun all the time,
Yeah.
24/7. How therapeutic was that chance for you to not just sort of get away from the touring, but also start getting to like pour that creativity into what eventually became Dreamverse?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was significantly more therapeutic than I was expecting it to be. I think in my mind too, I was like, man, I need like 3 months off, 6 months off, chill, work on an album. And like a year and 3 months in, I was like, damn, I still need some time off. Like, it was really nice. And like just getting time to like, go spend time hiking outside and just like enjoying free time and like doing things outside of music that I like needed for so long and just was like, too busy to like find time to do. And yeah, like you said, it was just, yeah, extremely therapeutic to be able to get back in the studio and just hang out, you know?
Dude, I'm so happy to hear that. You need those breaks. The
Yeah.
monotony can sometimes be kind of tough. So we've got a number of big collaborations that we're going to talk about throughout this interview. Oliver Tree, Slander, Dylan Matthews, who always makes me cry, Zed's Dead, IDK, Virtual Riot. The list goes on and on. I do want to sort of talk more about the thematic elements of this album. So I'm going to read a little snippet from the presser that'll be out by the time this is. So Dreamverse is described as a fictional anthology involving a neurotech company that discovers a sonic frequency called unsound, which leads one through gateways to other physical planes of existence known as the Dreamverse. So, there are a handful of artists, and you kind of were the spearhead of this for me because electronic music is sort of a newer passion of mine.
Nice.
Sometimes you take a friend to a show, they ask, is this space? Is this house? What is it? My favorite kind of EDM is theater. So when I saw this in the presser, I was so stoked. Can you tell me a little bit about what was like the inspiration for you in sort of doing this whole world building where it's not just music, but it's the videos, it's I imagine going to translate to the live shows as well. Like what went into this desire to create a whole universe out of your albums?
Yeah, I think part of it was just just like naturally having the ambition to want to create like a cool piece of art, that was a whole thing rather than just little pieces of inspiration here and there. And something that was a little bit more cohesive and would last the test of time, I guess, and would kind of give me, like you said, a little bit more of a setting and a platform to like have all these little like stories and tales and videos and songs to exist in like a universe or dreamverse. Obviously that's what it's there for. So I think the music was really inspired by this book actually that I read, that we all read at Icon Collective, a music production school, and it's called The Hero's Journey, and it's this.
Yes.
Yeah, Hero's Journey. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
pretty very popular. And Joseph Campbell was a theologist and spent all this time studying all these different religions, figuring out what kind of the common theme was, and ended up being this hero story. And so I kind of wrote the music before I wrote any of this, or before we started working on creating any like actual storyline to it. And I just wrote, according to the kind of the steps of that hero's journey. It's like, the intro where there's like the heroes kind of denying the call to adventure, and then they, have their moment where they, cross over the threshold into this unknown world, and they kind of have like, this like series of trials and temptations and love stories and whatever happens, and then they have the big moment at the end where they kind of have to face their fears and conquer them, and then they return home like a better person, as the hero or whatever. So I felt like I really identified with this story, when we were going through Icon, talking about our own lives and how it applied to everything, and seeing yourself on a journey and fighting these fears and accomplishing these tasks to kind of get to wherever your bliss is. It's like whatever your goal was. And I felt like it was a story that a lot of people could relate to. So I took that story, wrote music to it, and then went through. I have a creative partner named Caleb who's like incredible, super smart way. He kind of is the, don't want to call him a nerd because he's a fucking genius, but he's like way into
I think the nerds are
you would
taking over the
appreciate it. He
last few
would,
years, you know?
yeah, he's deep into a bunch of amazing cinematography and film and sci-fi and things like that. So yeah, we just kind of try to tie all the music in to this story and create a show as well. Which is actually at another good buddy of mine, Shin's place right now. We're working on show visuals and making, part of the desire to create this album was for the show as well, elevating the show from just like a DJ set to like, this is a show, like this is an experience. And it's not just like, I'm going to go hang out and rage, which, it is also that. It's fun. It's a party. It's like, a cool experience, but it's, yeah, something that's a little more elevated, hopefully, and cooler of an
Okay, man, that's
experience.
right up my alley. Was there one particular aspect of all this world building that you found the most challenging?
Um, you know, I think it was probably just trying. I mean, I don't know. A little bit was trying to keep it simple in a way. It was like a lot of it, like it was a lot more work than I'd imagined, and trying to, I think we spent a lot of time thinking of just the structure of what made sense, and thinking about this for the next 5 years and 10 years, and each story is not necessarily like you don't need to go watch the first video to understand the second video to understand the third video to like, it's not like one big thing. It's like more of setting the stage of this universe and having little excerpts and little pieces of stories. Each one is its own song, or maybe one's an EP about a certain part of the dreamverse. And I think just deciding how we wanted to like structure it so it could exist like that took so long to kind of like figure out. But then once we had a few main characters of people that would be recurring, and kind of like what their goals were, and who the bad guy was and things like that, just establishing those, I feel like it just took a lot of thought.
You mentioned wanting to sort of elevate this from just an event where people come and listen to music and dance to more of a show, something more than just a rager, what would be sort of your and you know, I know there's a varying range, but if an audience member could go and see this upcoming show and take it with them and tell their friends about it, how would you want them to describe it? What's sort of the goal there?
I think I want it to be like a visually immersive type experience. You know, I think a lot of the shows that we go to are like a lot of just overstimulation and like a million things going on at once. And there's like 99 lasers and 99 these. And I think we're trying to really program a lot of moments where it's just only lasers or only lights, or there's a cool moment of only visuals, or it's, you know, each moment in the show is a lot more thought out and like you know, planned, and like there's some time coded elements and things like that where we are, you know, syncing videos that we've made and things like that, and just putting a little more time into like those types of elements, I guess.
Before we start wrapping up on some stuff away from the album, I'm gonna pose you two questions, and you can pick which one you want to answer. Another thing I saw in the presser was sort of the album described as sort of like a massive DMT trip. Here are the two questions. You can answer whichever one you feel most comfortable. One, what role did psychedelics play in this album specifically? Or two, let's just kind of muse generally on sort of the intersect between psychedelics and electronic music.
Yeah, I think specifically for this, you know, part of the like the idea of this is it's kind of set in this future time where like, you know, people can use what you already create, like DMT, like exactly what you're saying, and this unsound frequencies. And it's a kind of a combination of these two types of things that, you know, like when put together can send you into this crazy universe type dream state, and it's controllable. And so that sort of becomes almost like a controlled substance. And so it is kind of directly related to the story in this, you know, because it's about like, you know, even though it may not be people like taking DMT, it's like, you know, it's set in the future where someone's hooking up to a machine and they're like, okay, we're about to send you on the craziest trip of your life right now. And yeah, so it's kind of like that's the point. And the unsound is like these frequencies that, you know, maybe couldn't have been heard or felt or experienced before. And, you know, in combination of these two new things, it just becomes,
God, I love
sends
that.
you into the depths.
I love the thought put into all this.
Yeah.
You've got a collaboration with Oliver Tree on this one. I don't know if you guys work directly together or remotely, but any fun Oliver Tree stories you can share, because that man is
Man,
an internet
no fun
hero.
stories really yet. Like everything we've done has been remote. Like, but we, you know, we FaceTime pretty regularly just to like chat about things. He's a super like nice dude, very genuine. It's cool. I mean, I don't know. He's been like way more I don't know. Yeah, it's cool. He's like very, very careful and thoughtful about everything that he's been working on, vocals wise, writing the song and like everything like that. It's which is really nice and refreshing, and talented dude. A lot less wild than I was expecting it to be, but I think we'll have to scheme something wild for everybody.
Hey, well, that's a perfect segue. Before we move on to a little bit of rapid fire to finish things up and get to know you as a person a little bit better, I was watching a music video earlier today in preparation for this. It's Bang with Shaquille
Oh
O'Neal
yeah.
and Lil Jon. Any chance to bring up my namesake, I gotta do it. What I loved about the video is it almost sort of doubled as a vlog. You had a checklist of things you had to do. You go
Yeah.
through it with them. Either or, whichever answer you think better sort of ties the experience. What's the wildest story or the most fun story that didn't make it into the video? Or just sort of talk to me about the chaos and the fun of that shoot in general.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it was a tough one because like we were like, okay, what can I was with Pete Dunne who was directing it, and we are like, what can we do in Miami when like we're gonna have Shaq and Lil Jon maybe for a few hours max. Like it's ultra weekend, it's just chaos. We're like trying to think as easy as possible. And yeah, the checklist idea came out. We are like, this is perfect. And I think driving the Ferrari around with Lil Jon in Miami Beach was like the most ridiculous thing. And the I could not possibly describe to you the amount of people who came up to him and just did like a terrible like Dave Chappelle, like what, like yeah, and it was just like every single bro on the in Miami Beach just like yelling at him. I was like, oh my god, that must just be awful. He was like, bro, you have no idea how terrible it was. He's like, it used to be bad, and then once Chappelle show came out, it just all like turns out. But yeah, that was pretty funny just watching that happen to him all the time. I was like, man, I'm sorry for this.
Yeah, I was gonna say these are sort of driving a fry with Lil Jon is like one of those sort of unexpected sort of experiences that come with your career choice. But I that pales in comparison to the way that Lil Jon has cursed himself.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's forever that guy. But he's a man. He was super professional, super nice guy, and it was another one who I was like very pleasantly surprised at like just how good he was to work with and what a good guy he was.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Okay, you've been so generous with your time. Before we end, I do want to do a little rapid fire. Don't feel the. I mean, keep these as long or short as you got time for. I'm good to go. All right. Okay. Tell me one reoccurring dream or nightmare that Nightmare has.
Dude, it's the same thing every time. Actually, it's slightly different every time, but and I feel like a lot of people have
That
the
makes it
dream
worse.
just in different forms. But I'm essentially like at one of my events or some festival. It's like, let's say I'm at EDC or something, and I'm like in some green room, and all of everybody's there hanging out. And then I'm like, something happens. All of a sudden, my tour manager's like, or I look at my phone or whatever, and I'm like, oh shit, my set's like started 8 minutes ago. Like, I got to go down there right now. Like, what are we all doing? Everybody's just standing around and like panicking, trying to get to the stage. And, I just have this never ending process of trying to get to stage and I just never can. I like walk downstairs and the elevator's broken, or like there's a bunch of people walking in the way and I can't get to stage, or like the golf cart's broken, or like somehow I just never get there. And then if I do finally show up, like I finally will make it to stage. And, um, there's either just no one there. There's like six people in a 10,000 capacity room, and everyone's just like, boo, you suck. Or I'll play the first song and it ends up playing a different song, and I'm like panicking. Just all DJ related dreams, every single one. Just like me not being
Well,
able to put on the show as hoped, as
I
expected.
was gonna say there's a big difference between six people in a 10,000 person venue and six people in a six-person venue.
Yeah.
But if they're gonna be booing you, I think you're better off at the
Yeah,
six,
that's
right?
true for
Just
sure.
10,000. No,
But
fair
yeah, I
enough.
don't know. It's always like just random stress about shows and events, I think.
Well, I appreciate the nights you do get away from work.
Yeah.
I think those are important.
Yeah.
When are we gonna? I know you are sort of one of the best examples I think of sort of the EDM hip hop crossover. When are we gonna get the Rally Super Collective of Cordae and Nightmare on a song?
Damn, Cordae is one of my favorites, honestly. Yeah, I would love that. I don't know. I gotta hit him up, and see what's up. We played a festival not too long ago together. I was like
Yeah.
tempted to just like storm in the green room and be like, hey, let's take these beats. Let's make some shit.
What's the like? I've been back there as media before. But that's a little different. What's like the etiquette like between like artists backstage in the green
I think
room and
like I mean, I would walk into any of my friends' green rooms, but if I've never met the person, yeah, I don't know. And like, especially, yeah, I don't know. It just totally depends. I feel like certain people would be like, don't come in there, and other people just would not care at all. So, I definitely ask first. Usually there's some crew around or someone waiting outside their
fill up
room,
everything?
security or something like that, if it's that serious. So, um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't feel bad about if we were playing the same festival going up and be like we should make some music together. But um,
Could have done
yeah, it is tough to approach people like that sometimes. Just
that. Which DJ can best compete with Nightmare on the tennis court?
the tennis court. Oof, God. The homie Boombox Cartel has been ripping the tennis court
Hey.
recently. Honestly, I haven't played in years, but I actually was down in Mexico um, with him working on this TV show, and yeah, he's been ripping it. I'm sure he could whoop my ass, honestly.
Yeah, well, no harm. Things to work towards, right? We
Yeah,
need to
exactly.
play for the music. Are you a horror movie fan or?
Not like horror. I'd say more like thriller movies, or I don't know. I could do like Seven is like as deep as I'll go into like, and things that are too gory. I'm like I'd be rather be a little more mysterious than like just like blood. But
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna end it on this one then. Kind of asking all the artists I do for sort of a future feature. Tell me your favorite venue you've ever performed at. Why? Sort of paint a picture of it for me.
My favorite venue.
Yeah.
Oh man, I get this one sometimes, and I never know the answer. But I think if I
Or one fond
truly had
memory
to
you have.
pick,
Yeah.
it would probably be the Gorge in Washington. Um,
Well, that's my
it's
favorite.
just
That's my
so
home.
good. you fly into Seattle and you whatever probably are renting a car or getting a ride out there because it's a 2 hour drive through the mountains. You have this long kind of like journey to get there, and you end up in this kind of like wine country, big epic canyon, and then yeah, it's just like what 10-15,000 person amphitheater overlooking the canyon. The stage and like the green room are just like incredible. The green room has a balcony overlooking the canyon as well, so it's just like the most beautiful place ever. And um, yeah, I've been there a couple times where we arrived on the bus like for a tour, and we were there by like 11 or 12 o'clock and just went and just laid in the field all day in the grass, just like so nice there. It's beautiful.
Do you find as a DJ compared to other avenues of music, you got a little bit more like discreetness where you can actually kind of walk around without being
Yeah, for
being
sure.
harassed
I
by
mean,
people?
the venues were empty for that, but yeah, 100%. I feel like I'm in a great place. I don't know TMZ doesn't give a fuck what I'm doing, but like I can walk around the airport and like no one's really bothering me ever. But if I go to
Super
my
great, man.
show, people are like, "Oh, Nightmare, what's up? Let's take a
Be
picture."
careful. People might start going, yeah, to you,
Yeah,
or
no,
his
I
little
gotta
account
avoid
names too.
something like that. But
I think the lesson is don't ever coin a catchphrase.
yeah, definitely not.
Yeah. Nightmare, my man, you've been so generous with your time. I want to thank you so much. I'm going to leave you with the last word, so I'll do my part very, very quickly. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the video. If you're still here, you know what you got to do. Subscribe, thumbs up, leave a comment. Let us know what's your favorite song off Dreamverse. Drops September 9th. Full written feature with Nightmare. EDM.com in the description of this. Nightmare, if there's anything you want to let the people know, please let them know.
Honestly, it's a little bit of the same thing. Please let me know what your favorite song is, because now I've listened to them all so many times. I don't even know if they're good or bad anymore. I'm just like, I'm ready for it to be out, ready for the world to experience it. And if you can send a tweet or a comment or anything, I'm always looking forward to hear from you guys. So let me know.
For what it's worth, I was headbanging at 7 a.m. this morning.
Hell
So.
yeah. It's got it all.